Thank you everyone for coming. Thank you for the introduction. So, what a time to be in this industry, in the industry of blockchain, digital assets, and the intersection with this in the financial markets. So, we will move straight to the fireside chat. The first question is about the global landscape. So we see how the different jurisdictions, well, we all know about the US new promising future with Trump and all the crypto-friendly people in his cabinet. Also, the announcements from Russia and the BRICS for their own coins, the movements from all the international banks and how they are exploring blockchain and the interoperability with this. So, how do you see, Philippe, the global landscape of digital assets and the financial industry?
Big words. Hi, everyone. So I run XBTO from Bermuda. It's our first regulator. And obviously, we're here now in Abu Dhabi where we got an IPA last summer and looking to be fully regulated very soon. What we've noticed, obviously, we've been in this space for 10 years. What we've found is obviously a very fractured regulatory environment. You sometimes really don't know what you can and cannot do. It's very unclear. If you look at the US, I think we're getting some interesting developments that probably will propel the US back into the mix where for a while it was a little bit complicated to look at. But for us, we've been moving east, frankly. We moved to Bermuda early on, and we are about 100 people, about 90 people worldwide with offices. Started in New York. We still have our New York office, Bermuda, London, Paris, and now Abu Dhabi. And we're super happy to be here. I think it's been we've been very welcomed here, and we're going to be talking about Hub 71 and everything that the ecosystem has been providing to us, and it's the way forward. It's clarity in regulation without strangling innovation.
Exactly. So, as the moderator said, so I've been 9 years here. So I'm as old as ADGM. So ADGM, for those who don't know, is 9 years old last September. So when we started talking about blockchain and digital assets here, there was no FSRA, there was no VARA, there was no regulators here, and Abu Dhabi has been introducing himself as a leader in this space, being one of the first jurisdictions introducing a digital asset framework. So I would like to ask you, Philippe, I mean, from all over the world, because you are originally licensed in Bermuda, right? That's the other side of the world. So probably you have evaluated different places and different jurisdictions. So what called you to see Abu Dhabi as a right place to establish some operations?
I think Abu Dhabi has a lot going for it. Obviously, and we see it a lot, it's the capital of capital, and that's true. It's a true statement for sure. It's a place that's so vibrant. It's a place that is very compatible with something so vibrant as digital assets, right? So for us and our team, it was a natural move to come and be regulated by a place that is so openly welcoming of digital assets and innovation in general, right? We want to go to places where regulation helps us, not hurts us, right? It's already quite difficult to be an innovator in the space because you have so many risks of trying to figure out your business model. It becomes very difficult if you're basically working with regulators that don't want to work with you, right? Because you're at the forefront. And so regulators are naturally kind of trailing you, and you need regulators that are, open-minded, looking forward, and that's what we found here, right? And the ecosystem's been so welcoming in terms of capital, in terms of putting an ecosystem that works and that makes sense. And so, it is the crossroad between, Europe, Middle East, and Asia. It makes a ton of sense for us as more of a B2B player to be here in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, I totally agree. So regulation can be a double-edged sword, can be an enabler and can be a hurdle, right? So I think being 9 years here and seeing all the regulators from scratch here, so I think the difference is the welcoming attitude for the people that are trying to conduct business and do business here in the UAE. And we work with companies that are established all over the world, and the common narrative is that in other places it will be very hard to get response from the regulator, and in the UAE is one of the few places where you can know the regulators by name, you can meet them, you can discuss like innovative business models that you are trying to do that in other places, like if they don't fit into the regulatory regime, probably will be a very difficult discussion. But here, really, they sit with you, and then they try to understand and help to identify the best way forward. So, changing a little bit gears in the conversation. So. The foundation of any successful digital assets solution in the financial industry is the infrastructure, right? So we have many components there. We have, first of all, the selection of the blockchain network that you want to use. You have a tokenization platform. You have smart contracts that also have to be audited, and etc. So XBTO does a few of these components. So how do you think that the infrastructure is currently meeting the needs of the financial industry and is preparing for the upcoming needs, and what the XBTO is doing about that?
Yeah, we've come a long way from 10 years ago when things were extremely fragmented from a technology perspective. You didn't know who you could trust from a custody of asset. Obviously, regulators, it was too early for regulators, so it was difficult to choose your vendors, right? A lot of our peers used to self-custody a lot of things, and with self-custody, it can be a very powerful thing to have the option of self-custody, and you hear it a lot, not your keys, not your coins, but at the same time, it brings a lot of risk, right? And an institution cannot take that kind of risk. So 10 years now since we started in February 2015, we see an ecosystem that's really been institutionalized to a point where you can now welcome billions, if not trillions of dollars into crypto assets. And blockchain and crypto native, and then what we'll call tokenized assets, will permeate traditional finance. It will take over. At least that's our thesis. It's always been our thesis. Bitcoin set aside, you're going to see a lot of things that are going to end up on a blockchain. We have tokenized bonds of companies. We're looking at tokenizing equity of companies, structured products, funds, alternative assets. And these are products that are going to live on the blockchain for a long time, and they need to be secured in the right way, right? There's too much money at risk now to not have a proper technology and infrastructure and regulatory regime, right? So we're absolutely embraced it. As a platform, we're kind of vertically integrated platform. We do quite a lot of things from asset management to capital markets, but obviously we have a custody license in Bermuda where we could custody all kinds of tokens on all kinds of blockchain. You mentioned which blockchain to choose, which tokenization engine to use. These are all things that we end up helping issuers with, right? So we basically cater to businesses, issuers and exchanges on one side, and then investors on the other. And we have products for each one of those. And they have plenty of questions. They want assurance. They want to understand how you custody, especially crypto native tokens. Less of an issue with things that are less bare asset, where it's a register on a blockchain of a corporate bond. It's less of an issue if you lose your token. But if it's a Bitcoin, that's real money lost, right? If it's gone, it's gone, right? And we hear a lot about the hacks and everything. So we are here to provide comfort as a regulated entity that's been around for a long time, to provide the kind of advice that the next generation of investors will need and want, right? So when we start talking to pension funds and sovereign wealth funds and even certain corporates, they need all this because they're publicly listed and they have to answer to their shareholders and they have a governance that they have to abide to. So we're completely dedicated to this. I think we're still in the early days, but I think in next 10 years, I mean, you're going to see, I don't know how much has been tokenized so far. We're talking trillions of dollars, but we're talking tens and hundreds of trillions of dollars.
That's very important what you're saying, to have the different components, because companies that are moving into digital assets, they are somehow lost. It's a new world where they need to understand what are the different building blocks. And from what I understood from XBTO, you are building many of these building blocks to have an integral solution, but not only that, but also the regulated part to be able to sell the outcome of those solutions that you're building. That is pretty interesting. Which brings me to the challenges and opportunities in the field. We've been talking about some very interesting things that you have done, like you were mentioning about tokenized corporate bonds. But I would like to ask you, where do you see the opportunities in the space, and maybe if you can mention one or two challenges that are still left to be resolved.
Yeah, maybe I'll start with the challenges and I'll end up with the positive and the opportunities. I think the challenges remain regulatory fracture between what you can and cannot do in jurisdictions. Navigating that is a challenge and will continue to be a challenge for, I think, years to come. What is a security in some places and then a security in other places. And I think that's the sort of yardstick that a lot of regulators look at these days is this the product of a few? Is this a security effectively? The SEC has been harping on quite a lot. Or is this something that is more of a utility token and something more of a, like a meme coin that doesn't really have any real value? Well, to some at least. But so I think that is the main difficulty. The other difficulty is meshing traditional finance with decentralized finance. Because KYC AML, as you know, in DeFi is an idea, but it's just an idea. But it's not so. It's very critical in traditional finance, right? Most people demand it. Most investors will demand it. It's part of the rules, right? And so the intersection of these two things is challenging to reconcile. Now, in terms of opportunities, I think. Again, we go back to bringing TradFi into blockchain and tokenizing everything. That is going to be a huge opportunity. And the people who are able to integrate from being a service provider like a bank to tokenizing with the technology to tokenize, and then providing the liquidity to a token, which is absolutely critical. And when you think about tokenization, actually people don't really care about the token, right? What they care is the outcome. Okay, now I've got a token, people can buy the token. And to buy the token, they need liquidity. So they need a market maker. So that we're an integrated player. So when we talk about tokenization, we talk about from underwriting to listing to market making, custodying, et cetera, right? So we think that's where the real value is. Then AI, of course, is going to be a big thing. AI will converse in digital currency because it's not going to understand dollars. It can't converse really with dollars. I mean, it could in a certain way with stable coins, but it has to be on a blockchain layer. It has to be digitized in a way where it can actually freely converse. And that's the power of digital assets, right? It's that freedom, that there's no censorship if you're working in a decentralized fashion.
So yeah, I think that is the looking ahead statement, no? The possibilities that it opens for everyone, for the freedom of choice of different financial products and the flexibility of them. And there is an old say that from probably a couple of decades ago saying everything that is subject to be digitized will be digitized. So now we could say that everything that is subject to be tokenized will be tokenized. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So any last thoughts in terms of where do you see the future of digital assets in the financial
I
industry?
mean, I'm very excited about next year. Obviously, it's going to be a big year. Hopefully, it's not a disappointment, but I think with the US on board, it's going to be a great cycle.
So as I said, what a time to be in this field. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.